Pastoral Theology 2, lecture, I don't know where we're at, 16? Getting close to the end. Do not start crying yet. The pastor's family. So this is for, mostly, this class is for training men to be pastors, or if they're already pastors, just to encourage them. Maybe they can learn some new things, reinforce some other things, fix some bad teaching maybe. How important do you think the family is? How important do you think a pastor's family is to the ministry?
Very.
What about a pastor who doesn't have a family? You think that would hurt him?
I think it just depends. I mean, I could not do what I do now, let alone be a pastor without a wife. So I'm not made that way.
Right.
But maybe someone is.
Yeah.
Paul probably was capable without.
Well, I think it was married. Maybe he learned some things through that process. But I think it's very important to have a family as a pastor. If we were training a man, let's say like David, we are in a way, but let's say he was a little bit older and ready to already through this and ready to go out and start a church, and say, brother, I think his grandfather said this, you need to get a wife and then have kids if you can have kids. Very important. Anyways, most pastors have family. That's what you see out there with Independent Baptists and probably any other type. This is from Dr. Richard Gregory. My comments are in italics. The local church is very special to the Lord. He created her to be the instrument through which He would demonstrate His love for man, announce His message of redemption to a sinful world, and provide communion and spiritual growth for the saints. A very important part of this objective is the Christian family. Families make up churches, of course. This is kind of a really generic, boring introduction, sorry, but that's what he has. The church's pastor and his family have the opportunity of modeling what God intends in this ministry. Pastor's family can be a blessing or a curse in this process, and I agree with that, because when I've been part of a church, they've had a pastor, of course, and a family. But that family mattered so much to me in my view of the pastor and in my view of the church, maybe even in my view of God, at least what God wants us to be doing. So if that pastor had someone in his family that was a negative, then that hurt. Now, actually, the pastor I had in Naples, Italy, it was just he and his wife and a little dog. The dog ruined it all. Resentment and bitterness are often manifested in the lives of ministers' wives and children. Let's get right to the point here. Okay, there it is. Some have almost come to expect rebellion among the sons and daughters of ministers and pastors. And when it doesn't occur, it's unusual. And how many, you know what a PK is?
Preacher's
or an MK? Yeah, preacher or missionary's kid. Well, how many of them have left home at age 18 and they'll leave the faith with it? They're often found living a carnal, rebellious life, attending non-Baptist feel-good church, if any, because it's rough on them. And obviously, I would say obviously, the parents didn't do a good enough job with them. Now, no parent is perfect and no child is perfect. And there's definitely a lot of stress, because you're, in a way, constantly trying to present yourself and your family as wholesome, godly, good, because you need to try and do that, but it isn't. Your family's messed up, just like everyone else's. It's a lot of stress on everyone. It's like tonight. I didn't think she was coming, actually, so she came, but I wouldn't figure she would have come. But I could have said, okay, honey, we just got back from 58 straight hours without sleeping in camp, but you need to get here, and we got to pray. Come on, let's hurry up. We don't have much time. Get stuff put away, too. This house I had to clean when you got home. That would go well, huh? You got to be, we never know, someone might stop by. We're going to get things done. Let's go. I'm on the computer now. Leave me alone. I don't really do that. I hope not. So how can you prevent the tragedy? Is the ministry worth this risk? Meaning it can destroy your family, divorce, and loss of your children, meaning where they leave you and leave the Lord. Some are married to the ministry. Is your ministry more important than your family? And I can say no, but it can appear yes sometimes. The ministry, and I've talked about this before, and maybe you've disagreed with in the past, I'll try and say it better as we go through this, but the ministry is what God has designed me to do. He's gifted me for that. And my family and my wife, kids and my wife, are part of me in a way to do that. So it's not really ministry versus family. When you look at it that way, it is difficult. Now, there's some times where they're not going to get involved with, like if I'm counseling some man in private, but in general, we're one unit. We do it all together. A pastor's family must have a shared philosophy of ministry. Everybody working together as a team. I would say even on down to the 1, 2, 3-year-old. Communicating with each other, making sure everyone's doing okay. Kids are important in the ministry too. Oh, are they? With other kids, and also how people view the church and the pastor by those kids. And I'll say it later, but it's so true. And this is ecumenical or independent Baptist, or cult, or any other type. If you come out in the place, the church building, you're visiting, or you've been there a little bit, and there's just kids that are just all over the place, terrorizing things. It's out of control. And you find out those are the pastor's kids. If they're not the pastor's kids, it does matter some, but it's not that big a deal. It's just kids. Kids do those things, and parents ought to be watching them, I guess. But when it's the pastor's kids, oh, great. I don't know if I like this guy. All of a sudden, it's big negative. Some people are more open or easier going with kids where it's not a big deal. Maybe I'm on the other side of things. Enjoyed your neighbor's, or your, whatever you call him, your neighbor's dog, who was smelling me all over. It couldn't stop smelling me. Why would it smell me? It smelled you for, well, of course it's seen you before, but it smelled you just for a few seconds.
It didn't come anywhere near
It gagged, actually.
It never came near me.
Yeah, it never came near you. I made up the other stuff. Yeah, it never came near you. It was all over me. It sniffing all over my legs, my behind. I was like, this is ridiculous.
You smelled interesting.
I should shower. Back to this, though. It cannot be imposed. Back it up even more. No, even right there. That's where we left off. So you can't impose it. It must be developed. Meaning, family, you will be a good testimony. You will be involved in the ministry. You will be committed to what I'm committed to. So you can't impose it. You shouldn't. It's developed over time. They kind of grow into it. That's why it's advisable. I mean, this would be hard to have 4 teenagers and 2 parents. Okay, 2 parents, 4 teenagers, and you go into the ministry then. Well, they're all 13, 14, 16, 18, whatever. That is tough. When they're 2, 3, 4, but they're just starting to pop out and come along the way, it's better. But then you're young. It typically means you're young. So realize, though, that when you step out to plant that first church, or any church, but that first one, because it's new to you, it is going to be a total shock to the family. To you, yes, but to the family, it's different now. So the pastor needs to be overly sensitive to his family's needs, despite the obvious needs of the new church plants. That's, okay, I want to take the time to explain that, but I'll take a little bit of time. Just a sentence or two. Maybe you don't understand that. Because it's so shocking to the family, it's going to be a lot of adjusting. And for you too, because now you're in the role of pastor, it's just a whole new endeavor. That even though you want to focus all your attention on this new baby, this church, and you want to do well, and you've dreamt about it and all that, you're going to have to back off a little bit, because that family is going to be overtaxed in the beginning. Because more than likely, you're not going to have a warring family with you. And maybe you will, but still that doesn't make it all totally easy, necessarily. Here are some ideas to help the pastor's family stay unified and productive for the Lord. So, understanding the call of God in a family ministry. This call of God. Okay. Central to the concept of ministry is one's understanding of the call of God. It is paramount that the pastor is confident that he indeed is specifically called for what he is doing. Like going to College Station, Texas to plant a church. going to Ciudad del Carmen. I know he just has a wife, but still. Yeah. If I'm wrong, if he's wrong, if Brother Vinci was wrong in going to Davenport, you're totally wrong, and it's not where God wants them, they weren't ready, whatever. It could totally ruin the family. You're pushing it over the edge. A pastor's family is not accidentally involved in his ministry because they happen to be his wife or children. It's like, oh, well, we're here. I guess we've got to help here somewhere. His wife and children should understand that they also have a call from God. Now, I want to be specific here. Their call of God is to serve the Lord alongside their husband or dad in that ministry. That's their call. So if I'm called to go to College Station to plant a church, they are called, in a way, well, not in a way, to help me with that church plant. Their calling is a little different. It's more focused on me, and mine's focused on that. They follow me, but they're involved in it. So it gets just down to the reality of it. They're going to be involved in it. That ministry. God has set them up for that. They're going to be good for helping. They're intricately, which is spelled right, I believe, involved in God's design of a particular ministry at a particular time in a particular place. They're going to be very helpful, specifically, not generally, in things. The pastor or missionary is the one specifically gifted and called for the work. And then God already has purpose called that his family is to serve alongside of him. So it's like and I'll say this in just a moment. I'm a missionary and my family's a missionary too. I disagree with that. It matters how you define missionary. But I'm going to be the missionary, the church planter, pastor. They're not. But they're going to be the team working with me to get it done. So they're called to be in that team to help out with it. But you could also just say, hey, listen, Mr. Warner, Brother Warner, your first statement is actually correct. They're accidentally involved in it because they got married to you or they were birthed out of your wife's womb. And they got nothing they can say about it, called or not. That may be true, but what does God want you to do? You go and just leave your family behind because they're not called? Does that make sense?
No.
So there's a calling, it's just not the same calling specifically as I would have, that they have. The children ideally should continue serving alongside Dad even when they are older. So let's say they're 19, 20, 21. Why leave? And I know one is left. And I'm okay with that, but ideally I said, why leave? Yeah, why? I mean, unless there's nothing to do to help out with the church, what we're doing here. They should serve with their father until it is clear that there's a spiritual call to serve elsewhere. And ideally, just how I think it should be, is that doesn't mean going off to college or going off to, necessarily, going off to the military or pursuing some career. It's the spiritual call. Now, the spiritual call could involve a college, maybe. It was maybe a spiritual college. But to pursue a career, I don't know. I'm talking about not the average family. I'm talking about a church planter, missionary. How about one that goes to, pick some place. Oh, let's go with Campo Grande, Brazil. It's like a pretty rough place. You're in Campo Grande, Brazil. They grow up on a mission field with you. They turn 18 now. They're 19. Okay, Dad, I've been there 18 years, so I'm going to college in the States. I wouldn't fault them for doing that, but why? Why don't you help me here? Now, if there's no need, maybe not, but that's my thought process. Just to clarify, the individual family members are not called to be missionaries. It's just the dad and the father. But the family's role is nonetheless a calling of God in that church plant. So God calls them to be involved with that as they serve alongside the missionary. So it's very important for a pastor to develop a philosophy of team ministry for his family. Everyone involved. We dive on in. It's exciting. You're the song leader, my 4-year-old. And 6-year-old daughter, you're going to be the little kid's teacher. I'm talking to you. And then my wife, you're going to run everything. I'll preach. Oh no, it's more than that. Any thoughts or comments on that?
it's a huge responsibility, and when you talk about being sensitive, that it's, it is kind of a delicate balance, because you're right, it's not the family that has the calling, it's you as the pastor, and so just to kind of keep that open dialogue going on, that the kids can occasionally complain, can come to you and say, this is not feeling quite right, kind of thing. And
we're going to talk about that in just a little bit, if I remember what I wrote yesterday. I think we are going to be talking just what you said. Anybody else? So there's some controversial things, and maybe it's just how you want to define things, but I don't get upset when someone comes to our church and says, we're all missionaries. We're all called of God to go to wherever they're going to. That's okay. This is a nice statement. I know that he doesn't really feel that his wife is a church planner, pastor, called to be that, and it's okay. But really the calling is of the wife is to follow her husband.
Isn't that being called?
Yeah, that's a calling, yeah, right.
So she's being called.
To do what?
To be the pastor's wife and help plan church.
Yeah.
So
Well, to help
say
him
that's being
in the
called.
planning of the church. Just trying to be specific there. Yes, they're helping in the planning, like you're helping in the planning of the church.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I guess kind of mushy in there, but specifically, there's one man that's going to be the lead. Say we're a team, okay, me and you, 2 by 2. I'll be maybe the leader, and he'll be second, and then we have our families with us in support of this plant. Starting with church, missionary endeavor. Yeah.
you can kind of see too that they're expressing it that way maybe as part of getting family buy-in of it. It's
Yeah.
not, I've been called and I'm going, so you're tagging along, but that we've been called as a family, that
Right.
all of us
Right.
have a part to play in this, so that you get the buy-in from the...
Yeah. And it's true. God's calling, will, purpose, whatever, is for everyone in that family to go with this man if he is indeed called. And even if he isn't, go with the man wherever he goes and help him to the max. That's not like God calls out of the 6 people in the family, 5 of you are called, but the 12-year-old is not. He will stay behind. Recognizing the hand of God in the family's design. What does that mean? The pastor's family should develop a ministry game plan that seeks to use the gifts, talents, and personalities of each of its members. Each member's participation should be developed according to his talents and gifts. You didn't have to actually have that sentence there. Oftentimes, the initial team involved in the church plant is, well, it's just a church planner and his family. That's usually how it works. Thus, in a surrogate sort of way, the family members act as the second man. So when I see my wife, I'll say, at least when I came here, I would say, "Hi, second man." But ideally, though, there will be a second man in his family. And this is the first time we've ever had that.
Praise the Lord.
Almost had it come in the home back.
Yeah.
The Vinceys, I don't know how close they got to it, and the Andersons, I don't know. It's just, they don't have that, at least yet.
Well,
But
there
there's
is
still
still
some-
potential.
Still
actually,
potential,
in
yeah.
Mexico.
Right,
There's someone who wants to, and they're thinking about it, but they're young.
right. So it could happen. But it looks like with Warrens, I mean, it took a lot of money. And we finally bought them. So they I don't know all the process, but they felt led of the Lord. Go out and help. This crazy family called, I guess you could just see the Warners that they need help. They're going to bomb if we don't go help them.
So you do realize that there's a little bit of a contradiction, and that you probably should be careful in expressing the family as the second man and saying, oh, by the way, they weren't called.
Right.
Because one would hope that the second man was also called.
Well, but yeah, you got to look at the words I use. Thus, in a surrogate sort of way. Those are vague terms.
Yes.
Sort of.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Sort of.
yeah, but they're not the second man. It's just a neat little thing to talk about, and it's in red. But yeah, I agree. If you want to get real technical and trying to refute me, and you're kind of got a critical spirit going, so find all the errors in what I say, yes, you can come up with that.
What is a
Thank you.
narthex?
My goal is met.
Yes, you've done well. What?
Oh, no. I didn't know what a narthex was.
Oh yeah, we're coming up. It's It's a space between a tooth and north axe. In my own family, it started with our children taking on the project of making sure the pencils in the back of the pews were sharpened. These little guys did that. We emphasized that this was not a chore or a job, but hey, it's part of our family's ministry, in which they could each participate. Yay! Later, as they grew, they became involved in a ministry to the elderly ladies of the church. Each Sunday morning, they would make it a point to go up and speak to a group of ladies that would sit in the narthex prior to the service. I think that is kind of like a sitting room, like not a foyer. Maybe it is a foyer. It's just another term for the foyer.
Probably.
But they must be Presbyterian or something. Because I've heard that term narthex, but I thought it was some type of physiological
Sounds like
thing.
something
Like it's a, part of the intestinal tract or something. So
the cone is.
we discuss this ministry over Sunday dinner each week. Hey kids, how are you going to help out? And the kids should be involved. Amen. When I was approached concerning a pastoral move, it became a family matter. We prayed together about it. We discussed how it would impact our lives. We studied together in our family devotions how to determine the will of the Lord in such a circumstance. Yeah, I tell you what, there's a lot of that going on in preparing for College Station and even OMAC. There's a lot of family devotion time. Let's talk about this. That's some interesting things to share with you. When we made the move, we all recognized the design of the Lord in using us as a family in this new ministry. But it was tough. Because first, I just get little hints, maybe a year and a half ago or sometime. I don't remember. It's vague and I want it to go away. Just little hints, little thoughts, someday you got me to call somewhere else. It'd be laughable if you did, but it could happen. I was like 70% sure at that time I got to call me somewhere else. But that's something to think about. And so we finally got to the point where, honey, this is really weighing in on me. Yeah, I know you're going to think it's just because I'm not happy here, all these things. I'm trying to refute every thought that you might possibly have. So that took some time. I suppose we've made it at this point. I haven't heard any negativity from the kids or my wife about it. Any type of resistance, are you sure type thing since probably January. Should a man of God move to pastor a work when one or more in his family are not on board with it? So look up for a second. What do you think about that? So you got a wife and a couple kids, and I'm not talking about a 4-year-old, but they're 10, 12, 14, 16, whatever. One of them's not on board. What happens if it's the wife?
No, not if it's the wife, then there's no problem.
Yeah, that's going to be a big issue.
If it's a kid, then I would say it's going to be...
So what about the 16-year-old son? He's not on board with it. He's got, I can see that. He's got friends. Maybe he's in the public schools. I don't know. He's got his life here. Dad, no, you got to be kidding me. No, Dad.
So
Well, I got my friends. I got a girlfriend. Whatever. I don't know. I got a job. Which could easily be the case at 16 or 17.
He needs to change his agenda.
Now there's an option when there's maybe 17 or 18 to, you'll just stay behind, we'll give you to somebody.
Potentially.
Yeah, potentially. If it really was that important, you need. Let's say you're going to the remote parts of the Congo.
Yeah, definitely.
And he's just going to be a sad boy for that year and a half. So I might send this like Pensacola Beck Academy. I don't know. Just have some family in the church take over for me. Well, but I would not go because a 16 or 17-year-old or a 12-year-old, a child not saying it. I can understand children not wanting to go. But if my wife said no, I'm totally against this. This is crazy. And 3, 4, 6 months of talking to her, praying, manipulating, whatever. Nothing has changed. Okay. If that would have happened with College Station, I would have never been telling anyone officially anything. I had to wait until she was basically on board. I don't know if she was fully on board in January, but she was okay. If he has the scriptural mandated qualities that will make for a good pastor, I know what I'm saying here. So if this man, this church planter, has the scripturally mandated qualities that's going to make for a good pastor, he will have pastored his family well already. And they should have the respect, trust, and love for him enough that even if they just, in their own minds don't see it as God's call, they will defer to daddy or hubby and gladly follow him. But if he's not done a very good job on this, that's a difficult scenario. So most men don't do a really good job, no matter how good a pastor we think they are. Their family is, and you can go to 1 Timothy 3, someone want to read that?
For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of God?
Right. You be a pastor, and now you got your wife against you, and all your kids are against you, and there's no letting up on that? That doesn't sound good. You can say they got problems. It's they're being carnal, selfish. It might be that you didn't do a very good job as a pastor to the family, as a leader for the family. Maybe you shouldn't be going anywhere to do anything until you get that fixed. How easily can that be fixed? If you haven't done a good job, you might be toast. It might be too late. You're 12, 14, 16-year-old, and you're going to just change around because you be nice to them now? Although there are responsibilities in being part of leadership, there are abundant privileges also. So, like someone said here, focus on the privileges, the benefits, the bennies of being in the pastor's family. Before you're a pastor's family, you're getting ready to be one. Hey kids, guess what? There's some nice things that can happen, potentially. Our family receives special loving attention from the people of God at Christmas, different times of the year. Gifts of money and food were abundant. People respond to faithfulness with kind attention when that faithfulness is whatever. After the character of Christ, yes, that matters. So stress the positives and pray about the negatives. Make the focus on the blessings of being in the pastor's family, and the negatives are going to be focused on their own. You don't have to push those at all. And in missiology tomorrow we'll talk about advantages and disadvantages of being a missionary. I didn't have much on the advantage side. It's the obvious. A couple things. You follow the will of God, people get saved, churches started.
You usually grow spiritually way more, which is probably what more would you want in life, is to be more spiritual.
Right.
That would be his priority.
Yeah.
I think.
Because you have a lot of, what do you call them, to say input or push to do great things for God.
Yeah.
It's all kind of flowing on you and your family. So, because I don't know about an 8-year-old, but maybe a 13, 14, 15-year-old will be thinking, Dad, my friend is a PK. He said it was miserable. It's a horrible life. You always got to hear about all the negatives. Well, anyways, there's privileges, and I think there should be. Not necessarily financially, but there should be privileges for a pastor in his family, because it's hard. And though, what happens, I don't know if every pastor's this way, but I don't want my kids to have privilege where it takes advantage of other kids, where they get to be first. They get to do these things no one else gets to. That's the pastor's son. They get to go to the front of the line every time, whatever it might be.
So that's part of that hard balancing act, because on the other hand, you don't want to make them have to be last every single time either, because then they're going to start resenting it.
Yeah. Like choosing songs. Who's going to win the VBS thing? You think about that. Pastor's son always wins. Pastor's son always wins. That wouldn't be good. Or he never wins. Because, well, you can't win, son. I'm sorry. Determining the role in the ministry of family members. Let's see here. This goes on too long, but that's all right. Too long? No, it's never too long. It's just right. Let's look at the father's role and the mother's role, and then we'll take a break. This is easy. By the way, this picture to the right was not done in the 2000s. That picture was taken in look at her hairstyle, what would you guess?
I don't know. It's
90, 93, 95? I'd say between 85 and 95.
I keep forgetting that it's not in the 90s.
I'd say 80.
It could be in the 80s, because that is, I don't know, it has that 80s look. It's by the color, how the colors were back then.
I don't know if he was tied with water.
Yeah, I think that's pretty normal. I don't think that could be today.
Okay. All right. you're all going to be churched. It's the 90s. It's the early 90s. You don't like it? There's a little change to what you want. What did you say?
I'm just saying, I didn't think it was the 80s. I his tie would have been whiter.
So you don't agree with my...
Wide.
You said it was the 90s.
Yes.
I said 85 to 95.
Oh, well, okay. Whatever you say.
Because look at their hair. Yeah,
Whatever you
that's
say is right.
right. Look at their hair. Look at the girl's hair. Let's go on.
Yes.
Trailblazer, that's a father's role, because you're blazing a trail. It is the role of the father of a family to take the leadership in making each member of the family accountable to be involved in a part of the family's ministry. So I would say, maybe not a 1-year-old, but everyone's going to be involved. But you don't put it as a negative. Hey, everyone gets to be involved. It's going to be great. You must creatively work with each member to help him understand how he or she fits into the family's goals and the ministry. Usually, initially, your family is the church. Look at the Vinceys. They have people show up, but the church who gets to serve is, the last name will be Vincey or Merrifield or Baskin. Well, one family though. That's who's going to be the church. There will be plenty of ministry opportunities for everyone. I don't care if you have 12 kids and 4 wives. Well, I actually do care, but there's going to be enough ministry opportunities.
Yeah.
There'll be plenty to do. So let them get involved. So here's a thought. Is it okay to have your 5 and 9-year-old sons take the offering?
Yes.
Well, if you're coming from a church of 1,000,
Maybe not.
you would never have seen that.
No.
No, because you're not going to do that because a lot of money's going to play and you don't want to offend anybody.
Well,
So,
Well,
you could
over
see a church
1,000,
somewhere.
you've got a few men to do.
yeah. But could you just choose to have like Brother Dean and his son do it? Yeah, you can. We do it. Ideally, I think it should be a man, faithful man, and very key man. But we're not. By the way, I hope this doesn't change your mind. I don't want to have take an offering.
Oh, I knew that already.
Okay. I think I said that, but at this camp, which you weren't at, they were talking about it. Some people even follow this ecumenical thought and stop taking offerings. And then when the church is dying financially, they go, well, maybe we should take an offering, brother. I was hearing that going, yeah. No, I just don't want to. We're going to have a spot where you can give an offering. We're just not going to take the offering.
Steal it.
Yeah. Force them down the ground. We're taking your offering. Is it okay to have your 12-year-old daughter teach the 3 to 6-year-olds? Sure, if there's no one, but this is the key thing, I think, if there's no one else to do such, it would be a faithful member. But on that one, I would probably have an adult nearby, not just you're off downstairs in a room by yourself.
Yeah.
If something bad happened, you got a 12-year-old you left alone. I don't know, this doesn't sound as good.
No.
And with the 5 and 9-year-old, as long as it's out in front of everybody, they don't go off in a room to go count the money.
Right.
5 for me? 5 for you? Nothing for them. So, one of those things going on. It is quite a trail to blaze as you lead a family down the treacherous path in church planning. Take each step carefully. What were the Portland Trailblazers? Is that still a team?
Yep.
Basketball.
Is it still one? They must stink because I never hear about them. You guys from Oregon?
Yep.
It's nearby. It must really stink because I never hear about that basketball team. Is the Seattle Supersonics still a team?
No.
No. You know, Texas has 3 NBA teams, or 3 NFL teams.
Yep.
I guess California is the other one that does. Those 2 states rule the country. All right. And the father's role is achiever. A father should lead the way in helping each member of the family to see the needs of the ministry and then assist them in achieving them. We've already talked about this, but you can accomplish this during the family discussion time and family devotions. That's his words. This is whoever wrote it. And I agree. That's what we do. We talk about these things. My family devotion time is a lot of just interacting, talking, how things are going. Even talking about non-spiritual things, mowing the lawns and things. But we have family time, and then we always pray. So there's spiritual, and I usually have a little, it's not a prepared lesson at all, just an area to talk about. Just one little thing that might challenge them some, or get them to think, or get taught some. And I've done it before, where you go through like the ABCs of Christian growth and all that, and you can try and do that. But it's just worked out better for us. So what's going on, family? How you doing, Caleb? How's camp? Just talk for a good 15, 20 minutes. It is kind of like having a board meeting as a pastor in a church plant. They are your advisory panel. They're also your employees in that initial church plant. Your family are the only ones that you can really trust and rely upon in the beginning stages of the church plant. That's just the beginning. So don't keep that mindset all the way through, because then it's us against them. The Warrens and Potter. They're a rough bunch. But family, we'll all stick together, and we're right, and they're all wrong. As time goes on, the pastor and his family may be the only church members on board, sadly, with the mission and actively pursuing it. This is after people are added. So these will be the main members that you might be encouraging, helping, and guiding. Because this picture a year from now, you'll maybe still be there, but everyone else, yeah. So I don't know who we'll have, but let's say it's all then one to the Lord, so there's still grown baby Christians, or they come from ecumenical backgrounds and just needs a lot of retraining. So it still gets down to, well, you too, but that pastor's family still being the key a year or two later, maybe even 3 years later. Well, let's finish up this and we'll take a break. Mother's role. And he says, well, she's key on teaching right attitudes. The mother models and communicates proper attitudes in a family. She has both the responsibility and opportunity to mold her children's attitude toward ministry. When a wife resents the responsibilities and privileges of ministry, she's going to communicate that to her children. And he says, attitudes are caught, not taught. So if that pastor's wife at home is complaining a lot about, no one else helps, got to do everything, I got to clean the vans, I got to drive the vans, I got to run the vans, I got to fix the vans, I got to get the oil change in the vans. My wife could be saying all that, but she doesn't. Not every day she doesn't. Some days she says that. Thus, never openly complain about the ministry, moms or even dads. About the church, about the members, about money, about housing. Kids pick up on that fast. Yeah. And it may be a or the reason that when they are older, they choose not to go into ministry. Yeah. I remember how it was. There was no way. I don't know if Josh was saying that. Now he's just getting ready to get married. Hopefully not. Then she's supposed to be mothering. A pastor's wife must guard against allowing the priority of ministry to rob her of the God-given responsibility of being a good mother. Proper team concept recognizes that the age of children dictates the degree of ministry responsibility of the family's mother. So think about that. A mother with a 4-year-old, 3-year-old, and 2-year-old and a newborn needs to be given, I would say, much liberty in caring for those dear children and not to be preoccupied with the things of the ministry. So you go to a church plant, and that's the case. 4, 3, 2, 1, newborn. Honey, you take care of the kids, and if you want to get involved in some things, that's fine, but I'll take care of the rest. Maybe the 4-year-old boy will help some too, but I'll do the rest. I mean, that better be the way you look at it. If you say, honey, I don't know how you're going to do it, but you got to run all the ladies' ministries, and you got to do the treasury and the church cleanup, because I got to prepare sermons. That will not be good. But if they're older, or maybe you just have one child, you shift that. As a pastor, I'm talking from the pastor's viewpoint here, how he sees it all. So the responsibility of the church is not the wife's. It is the church planners. Meaning, if there's a need and the wife's busy, he's got to do it, and he should do it. In fact, it's not her job to do these things. Her job is to nurture those little ones. Thus, the care of the younger children will dominate the missionary's wife's time and energy, not the ministry.